Hello everybody, thank you for being here. Let's talk a little bit about what a conductor does and how it relates with a score. First of all, I want to share with you a little basics of what conducting is and how it works. It's a little bit of magic, but there's a lot of science. Basically, our main job is to help the orchestra, many players, to play together at the same time. And what our hands use is a tool called the beat. The beat is an incredible way in which our brain, through our eyes, translate motion in time. From a visual point of view, is like you are beating on a table. But according to how this motion happened, to the speed and to some direction, the brain transformed that in musical message. And basically space and time are completely related in conducting. And so Einstein equation is very much alive into conducting. The message that a conductor conveys through his hands are related to different issues. It could be, of course, the tempo, the speed, it could be the dynamic, is it loud, is it soft? And according to loud or soft, of course, the size of the gesture will make a difference. This may be more for something small and soft, and a big gesture, of course, is self-explanatory, will be for loud. In between, of course, there is an incredible variety that will paint the phrase. And this is something also very important from a conducting point of view. At the end of all these elements, single elements, details, the magic of the shape of a phrase, of a movement, of a symphony, of a concert needs to be done with all this gradient of choosing every single gesture, how it goes to the next one. Other things that the conductor, of course, do is cueing. There is a player that has a 85 bar of rest, and it's always good to invite and remind them to come in. But that's not sometimes the main reason you want to cue somebody. The way we cue is often related to the color, the sound, the quality of the emotion that player, that color, that instrument needs to come into the whole texture. So cue is not just a matter of avoiding mistake. It's just like painting in the whole picture a particular color that need to blend according to whatever is the composer idea. Of course, then all this knowledge goes into rehearsal technique and other stuff. But right now, what I would like you to know more is how a score of a conductor looks like, and what a conductor needs to do into a score, how it needs to get the message, how it needs to break it apart so that he can better understand the composer's ideas and message. So I took for you today a Beethoven score, because we are into still the year of his 250th anniversary. So I found that this is a tribute to what is probably the best composer we ever had. And I took for you Beethoven 8th Symphony. Let's see now here on the score. I can show you the first page of a Beethoven 8th Symphony. This is the Barrett-Reiter edition. Another job of the conductor is pick an edition that is faithful to what the composer did want. That's important because history has its sediments, and very often a composer is performed in different ways according to different time in history, different countries, different famous conductors, traditional orchestras, traditions that he put in some orchestras. So it is possible, and actually with Beethoven happened quite often, that his original manuscript, his original ideas were transformed by conductors and in many ways. So this is a Barrett-Reiter, that is a urtext. It means is exactly what Beethoven wrote. So it's a good source to try to be faithful to what he envisioned in his symphony. Okay, good. Now let's look at our score. As you can see here, is a very large score. Imagine that all this page, if you are not familiar with conducting scores, is basically only one thing happen at the same time. This is one bar for everyone, and it goes on. So the conductor, when he reads, he needs to kind of scan from the top to the bottom. And let's look a little bit how these top and bottom instruments are written down. Usually we have the woodwinds on the top of a score. So in this case, you will see the flutes, the oboes, the clarinets, and the bassoons. Here, there are two of them each. And you can see that there is a little bracket here that make the family of the woodwinds stay together in the top part of the score. In the middle, we have the brass. In this case, this score has only horns and trumpets. There are no trombones. And so it's in Italian, as you know. A lot of terminology music come from Italy. That makes my life much easier when I need to talk to the orchestra about this kind of stuff. So the first one is the corno, horns. We have two of them. And then this is interesting. Some of you may not come across to this terminology of the trumpets. The trumpets here are called clarino, and this is an old way to call the trumpets. So we have two horns and two trumpets. Then afterwards there is the timpani. And this is like the middle section. Somehow the middle section is a more rhythmic section in the classical orchestra in Beethoven's time. Going down, there are all the strings. The first violins, the second violins, the violas, the cellos, and the basses. So all of this happen at the same time, and a conductor needs to get all the information at once. So initially, when, for example, a pianist or a violinist decide to become a conductor, it's kind of not easy to go from one line or two lines to 10, 15. And if you get a Mahler score or an opera score, Wagner, you're going to get an incredible amount of lines. So how you help yourself to don't get lost in this incredible storm of information? You need to know, you need to do some selective analysis that help you to get the elements of the full picture and isolate them so it's easier then to put them together. What kind of analysis a conductor does? There are several kinds. One is, for example, the formal analysis, how this piece is built. And in Beethoven symphonies, we know that he uses a lot of the sonata form. So we look for the first theme, the bridge, the second theme, and then the development, the recapitulation. So we have the bigger picture of how the piece is built. Then we go into more details. And one is, for example, the phrase analysis. How many bars to make a sentence? And then so on, the sentences can be combined together for bigger chunks, like the whole first theme, for example, episode, let's call it this way, section, and so on. Another one is, of course, the harmonic analysis. When you have all these instruments, and a lot of winds and brass, sometimes they look they're playing a note, but they are transposing instruments. So what you look on the page is not the notes come out. So in that case, it's very important to do the harmonic analysis, so you know on a certain beat what chords should come out. Another analysis is analysis of cueing. So the trumpet doesn't play for so many bars. Should they cue or not? Or the melodies in the cello, should they turn to the cello or not? Another one is analysis of the translation of the words. Sometimes composers like Mahler, for example, writes not in Italian, so it's in German. So unless you're familiar with German terminology, you're not going to get what he wants. And Mahler specifically is very, very detailed about his will. He was a conductor, so he knew exactly what he wanted. So without translating in your own language the terminology, you really don't get what it is. And this is extremely important also in opera, for example. Without knowing the meaning of the words in an opera, you cannot conduct it. When you have all these elements, and even more according to different other aspects, then you start to do the final analysis, that is the conducting analysis. It means what my hands need to do in order to try to figure it out and try to help the orchestra understand what the composer wants. Of course, there is a subtle line between what the composer wants and what the conductor understands or wants. So we always need to try to put ourselves a little bit aside to avoid that our view fights against what's written. So in that aspect, it takes years of experience to try to filter your personality and to become a Debussy when you conduct Debussy, a Mozart when you conduct a Mozart, a Beethoven. So to avoid that the conductor is always filtering everything. There are some conductors, for example, that no matter what they conduct, they're always them. And in that case, that's a little bit more problematic. Okay, I think for today it's enough. And I hope you enjoyed it. And we are looking forward for even more of these little talks between us. Thank you very much.